The New York Post has begun posting on Twitter and on their website a bunch of extremely psychotic, insane messages. Talk about an October surprise. And this one that I'm highlighting to open. It is a fake headline of Greg Abbott apparently saying he's going to murder illegal immigrants. There's a more egregious one, but I'm going to wait a little bit before showing you everything because there's basically it appears the New York Post has been hacked. Now, I'm assuming it's a hack. Somebody broke in and started putting up a bunch of stories about conservatives, changing the headlines to make it seem like they're calling for murder and death. These images will probably be archived and shared. The New York Post is deleting them like crazy. I don't know exactly what's going on. We don't have confirmation on a hack, rogue employee, what it might be, but the posts are real. I've saved one. I have archived one. Now, the New York Post is purging and deleting these as quickly as they can. But we have this Twitter thread from Sarah Weaver, reporter for the Daily Caller, who says the New York Post Twitter account was just hacked. I'm now going to pull up an article that YouTube may not appreciate. It's fake. It's hacked. You should be aware of this. But I need to show you the severity of what's happening. A New York Post article calling for the assassination of AOC purportedly by Ben Shapiro. This has already been deleted. I saw the tweet pop up. I clicked on it. It is real. The URL is available there at the top of the screen, but the article is gone. Ben Shapiro, of course, did not say this. But I think it's extremely important that we discuss it. Now, I don't know if these articles are real or fake. The article itself may be real. The headlines may be what have been hacked so far. So I'm not entirely sure. There's a handful. Sarah Weaver, of course, highlights the Greg Abbott post, the AOC post. Here's another image. I don't know what this one says. I'm not going to show what these posts say. They're extreme. They're offensive. They're violent. Wow, man. All I can really say is things are getting absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy indeed to see these posts. They're being deleted very, very quickly. That's all I can say. I don't know who would do something like this, but I can tell you that I've been saying for quite some time that we are getting dangerously close to civil war. Now, this may be but a grain of sand. Obviously, the New York Post isn't writing these stories. They're not real stories. They may actually be real bodies of text written by somebody, but the headlines appear to be fake. So what does it all mean? The escalation is upon us, my friends. There are going to be screenshots. There's going to be archives proving the posts are real. I'll put it this way. I personally have archived the AOC article. As soon as I saw it, I saved it because I want proof that it happened. Now, as there's a couple ways you can archive things. One, we really do want archive.ph or archive.is sources because it actually grabs the site. However, by the time I saw it, within a few minutes, the New York Post was aware. They took it down. But I also saved the HTML raw file from the site as another means of archiving it because I want people to know that this hack did happen. Now, I'm assuming by the time you're watching this, the New York Post may have already put out a statement pertaining to what happened. But there's going to be a lot of people who believe it. That's all that matters. Right now, you have a left and a right who see the world fundamentally differently from each other. Now, I think it's fair to say what the left believes is a crackpot world of insanity. I mean, just do I go through the list again every time? The Trayvon Martin story. NBC News edited the audio to make it sound that like George Zimmerman was racist. It's fake. Hands up, don't shoot. The Obama administration determined that was not true. Michael Brown did not have his hands up. That's the Obama administration. Oh, now they'll say, oh, but Obama was conservative. Whatever. They've been saying that for some time. Russiagate, that was fake. How much money and how much time was spent wasted? How about the noose found in the NASCAR garage? What turned out to be a garage pull rope. Covington Catholic. That turned out to be innocent kids who were actually assaulted by an adult man, and they made him the bad guy, Kyle Rittenhouse. What did they say about him over and over again? That he shot black people? All of it lies. And this is how they do it. Now there are going to be people sharing screenshots saying, yo, this was real. You're going to see a lot of these people, and a lot of people are going to fall for it, but that's not the point. The point is we are in the midst of the midterms right now. Unconstitutionally, there is an ongoing election month happening. Tell me how that happens. And there are going to be old people who see this and they're going to go, the Republicans are just so crazy. There are going to be malicious actors who will take these screenshots and say, definitively, factually, these are real. You see, maybe you could argue voter intimidation, fraud, or voter manipulation or interference. But they're going to come out and they're going to say, these are real stories. Now, I don't know how far they'll go with it. This looks more like a subversive campaign. But they could literally take these screenshots and put them on TV and say, these are real images from articles. Now, the New York Post, they could try and sue, but the reality is they are real images. They are real articles. The New York Post is deleting them. Will probably issue a statement about being hacked. I'd imagine something happened. The fact is there's going to be at least some people who will believe this stuff is real. I'll give you a real world example. I believe this was around 2013. The Associated Press on Twitter got hacked by the Syrian Electronic Army. It's young people who hack accounts. This guy we believe was in Russia. The AP tweeted that there was an explosion at the White House and that Obama had been injured. I think it was the S&P or was the DOJ, a major stock market collapse, nearly $10 billion, not trillion, $10 billion. And then once news broke that it was a hoax, the market recovered somewhat 90%. So there was still market damage. But the crazy thing was many people had forced sell-offs. Because the way it works is you say, if my stock, it's at $100, if it drops to 95, automatically sell so I don't lose money. When the fake news happened, tons of people sold, triggering auto sales, triggering an automatic cascade. Group A, sell off, and they were tricked. Automatically, buy orders are triggered, where they say if it dropped to 90, buy, spiking back up a $9 billion, I believe it was around $9 billion, transfer of wealth in an instant from one hacked tweet. This does have an impact. You don't believe me that we're heading towards civil war. You don't have to. I could be wrong, completely wrong. But I've been reading a whole lot. And it's funny when, we had a super chat the other day on Timcast IRL where somebody said, Tim, you know so little about the Civil War for someone who talks about it so much. And I'm like, It's really funny when, I know more than the overwhelming majority of people because I've been reading tons about it. However, there is a massive amount of people who know more than me because I am no historian. But man, I got to tell you, the things that I've learned that have changed my perspective just from talking with historians, and I've talked with several, reading academic papers and watching some documentaries. Still far from an expert on any of the Civil War matters. But man, I've known some stuff from growing up because obviously in a big city, they tell you that, the Civil War was fought over slavery. And that's a gross oversimplification. In fact, technically, you could argue it wasn't fought over slavery. It started because of slavery. The fighting was for a variety of reasons. But you learn a lot of this, man. Only when you start digging into it. The average person has no idea. No idea that there were 4 states that only joined the Confederacy because Abraham Lincoln called 75,000 troops, militia, to suppress the South. And that's interesting. Then you had a state like North Carolina that was in the Union and they did not secede. And then Abraham Lincoln says, we're sending in the troops. And they said, I will stand against you. For that reason, you can see that the secession for these 4 states was not principally about slavery. Anyway, I've been harping about that quite a bit because of how insane things are getting. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Democrats blow whistle on alleged ballot harvesting scheme. Florida opens criminal probe. Man, I was planning on doing a much larger segment on this for 4 p.m. And I still might but when I saw the article about AOC, I was just like, holy wow, man. Democrat blows whistle on alleged ballot harvesting scheme. Florida opens criminal probe. Maybe I'll get into it in greater detail around 4 p.m. But here's another story. Pennsylvania election results could take days, Secretary of the Commonwealth says. Here's one more for you. RNC files over 70 lawsuits to challenge states on election rules. A civil war. I can't imagine anything else. I don't know. You know, I don't know exactly what form it will take, what shape it will take. I have no idea. But tell me, please, how everything we're seeing resolves amicably and peacefully. Who broke in to the New York Post content management system and was able to post all of these things? Every day I read the news. I see lies. Do a Google search for Fetterman. What do you see? Almost every article is pro-Fetterman. I mean, the dude could not speak. Crazy. Pull up Elon Musk, anti-Elon Musk. Pull up Dr. Oz. Everything is anti-Dr. Oz. Fetterman's claiming he's raised nearly, what are we at, $2 million? It's getting crazy out there. I just saw a video. It was, what do they call him? MAGA Hulk. A guy was going to be speaking. It was a Turning Point USA event. Antifa showed up and brutally beat and assaulted people. We have these videos. It's the midterm. A lot of people aren't paying attention. 2024, that's when they say he's going to get crazy. But I think the primary elections are going to get crazy. I mean, if Trump announces he's running, the left is going to claim... I think we're going to start seeing open calls for secession. I really do. We already saw the Boston Globe thing back in 2020, I believe. The Boston Globe ran that story about the Democrats' D&D session, Dungeons and Dragons. They did their war game on how things would play out, and they basically said civil war if Trump wins. Has that sentiment gone? Has it de-escalated, or has it gotten worse? I think it's fairly obvious, ladies and gentlemen, everything has only gotten worse. Pointing out the article on AOC. Here's the scary element to it. I was actually planning on talking about like Elon Musk for this morning segment. I did this big thing, and then it was like 9:15 a.m., 9:12 or something. The New York Times starts dropping all of these articles, like posting them like crazy. And it's just like, yo, dude, are you kidding? Now, is this supposed to help Democrats, hurt Republicans? I don't know, man. But you see how dirty and insane it's getting. The implication that Ben Shapiro would say such a thing about AOC is absurd. But this seems planned. They know that Ben Shapiro has been critical of AOC. There was the memes about him debating her. Seems like they planned that on purpose. Abbott calling for the murder of illegal immigrants. These headlines appear to have been planned in advance. So who did it? Maybe it's Antifa. Maybe it's some far leftists, right? Perhaps. Maybe it's China. And that's what's scary. I don't think that a true threat from China would unify this country. It's possible, and I would imagine probably more likely, that it was Russia or China that broke into the New York Post and started changing these headlines to sow discord within the United States. That's substantially more likely, but it won't matter. The distrust and the discontent is too expansive, much too expansive, with everything going on around the elections. With the right now, you've got armed men watching ballot boxes, as they're allowed to do. You're allowed to be armed. You're allowed to wear bulletproof vests, and you're allowed to watch a ballot drop box. In fact, I think ballot drop boxes should not exist. This mail-in voting month doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter which side you're on. What matters is the distrust exists, and the escalation is happening. A woman getting in the face of these guys screaming. The cops get called out, and my fear, as well as the ideological opponents over at the Bulwark, we see something similar. I think November 8th may get particularly scary as we see this kind of stuff drop. I think it could get very scary. Armed groups show up in certain states, swing states. Hillary Clinton already coming out saying Trump is planning on stealing the midterms. Democrats are already saying the Republicans are planning on, Trump is planning on stealing 2024, and the Republicans are planning on stealing the midterms. Although they're Vanity Fair, Democrat media, they are saying Trump is going to steal the midterms and 2024. Hillary Clinton said Trump is planning on stealing 2024, and so are MAGA Republicans. Joe Biden comes out and says MAGA Republicans are extremists. We then see a guy in Florida mercilessly beaten. They claim that he was a neo-Nazi. Yeah, I don't care, dude. I don't like them. But what matters is the escalation is happening. There's no simmering down. Politics has become pop culture. You've got people like Ethan Klein, somebody who doesn't know anything about politics, history, or anything like that. All of a sudden, this edgy comedy podcaster is now talking politics all day, doing a podcast on socialism. That's insane. It's a crazy thing to watch, I'll tell you this. And I'll tell you, you got to be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. I remember when I was younger thinking, I wished people cared more about politics than they care about sports. And to a certain degree, I think that's still a good position to hold, but I think we can see the unintended consequences, I'll put it that way. The inadvertent results. I used to see people, they'd go to sporting events and there was thousands and thousands, and I'm like, why don't they care about war? Why don't they care that people are being blown up? They won't listen. They don't want to talk about it. Why don't they care about Building 7? I don't know. They don't. Now they do. Not so much Building 7, but politics. The problem is many of these people are being lied to and manipulated, and it's bolstering the ranks of the extremist factions. And that's going to result in, I guess, chaos. I'll tell you something else, though, as an aside. I was watching Nathan For You. Have you guys ever seen that show? Hilarious show. It's really good. And it's like an episode I'm watching from 2014 where he's trying to help a dating website, and they get this woman, and she's cast on the show to be the woman to go on a date. She goes on a date, and they include this random clip. I have no idea why. And she goes, if a plane hit building towers 1 and 2, I can understand that. But how did Building 7 come down? And then the date goes, what's Building 7? And I'm just like, what? Comedy Central put that in the show. It's on HBO Max right now. It's the dating website episode of Nathan For You. Watch it. It's crazy. I guess they put Nathan For You on it. Now everyone's talking about it or whatever. He's got a new show coming out. Anyway, I digress. People started getting involved in politics, but they're not smart enough, and they are angry enough, and that's when you get chaos. I mean, people are allowed to be, stupid people are allowed to vote. That's a reality. But it's just, I don't know, man. It's so crazy. State actors, would you agree with me on that one? Comment. Let me know what you think, because I seriously do think it's more likely Russia or China. In fact, I think Russia, either is a good play for this. And I'll tell you why. If the Republicans win, then the Ukraine conflict is done. If Trump gets in office, he's going to be like, we're done with this. We are no longer supporting Ukraine. If the Republicans win the midterms, they may issue formal legislative action, and try and supersede, file a lawsuit against, Joe Biden for sending this money and start voting against it. Ukraine could get crushed in 2 seconds. It would avoid World War III, so not all bad. Maybe the discontent and these posts that we're seeing pop up are intended to cause discord, helping one side or the other win. It could be the left doing it. I mean, let's put it right on the nose. Let's say that leftists in the U.S. did this because they want Republicans to lose because they want war. Let's say it was U.S. intelligence that did it because they want to keep funding our efforts in Ukraine, so they need Republicans to lose. That makes sense. I think foreign adversary makes the most sense, but I got to be honest, it could be anybody. It could be some bored teenager. It could be a Joker type person who just wants to watch the world burn. It could be U.S. intelligence agencies breaking in and manipulating, trying to help Democrats win because they want to support the war in Ukraine. It could be China. They want the U.S. in chaos so that they can move on Taiwan. It could be Russia. It could be Antifa. It could just be some angry leftist making Republicans look bad. I don't think that one is the case necessarily, and I'll tell you, because this wouldn't actually do it. I mean, somebody who hates Republicans like Antifa wouldn't post these things that are so obviously fake. They'd want it to look more realistic. They'd want people to genuinely believe. But maybe, man, I don't know. I can tell you, there may be a major financial crash heading our way next year. Republicans win in a week and a half or so. You then get, over the next few months, the economy starts bubbling over and dropping and just falling apart. The Democrats then say, you see what you did? We were the only ones saving you, and they try to use that for 2024. This is the dirtiest I've seen politics in this country. Dirtiest. You've got Whitmer lying about her school policies. You've got Hochul lying about crime and saying, why do you care? Crime skyrocketing. I will tell you, the Democrats are burning this country to the ground, period. The Republicans do a whole lot of nothing. You know, they got their share of warmongers too, but that's it. I saw this poll. It was really funny, and it was something like people who aren't Republicans, but they were expressing how much they hate the Democratic Party. And I'm like, that's funny. Democrats have a lot of cult members, a lot of independents. It's 2-1. They don't like Democrats, but I just look at the Democratic Party as pure evil garbage. I look at the Republicans as uniparty trash for the most part. But the Democrats really are just like pander to the extremists, burn it all to the ground, and then you pay the bills. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get an update on this by later today, but this is breaking right now. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.